Excellent. Okay, so to begin with, I just want to, well, first of all, I do want to acknowledge that I'm on the lands of the Wadawurrung people of the Durag Nation, and I pay my respects to elders past and present. Um, I'm just going to begin with two sort of conceptual frameworks if we're thinking about assessment design, ethical assessment design. The first one is automation versus augmentation. And this really links into some of the presenters before, some of their presentations before, when we're thinking about what we're trying to do with this. And it's not actually that straightforward. And I know a lot of us are walking around in sort of rooms with blindfolds on. That's how I feel some of the time anyway. So automation, of course, is getting AI in this context to do the task for you. Augmentation is using it as a tool. And so our goal, I think everybody here is like-minded, that we can't stick our heads in the sand about AI. It is there. I concur with some of the other presenters that I don't think it's probably more than 50% of law students that are using it, but it's hard to say because it's hard to know how open they are with us. But that's going to change. Although they might be scared now, potentially worried about it, that is going to change, particularly as they go through school. And are using it more in school. So our goal really is to think about assisting students in understanding how to use it as a tool. And that's going to be really important for when they go into legal practice. So as part of that, one of the things we need to do is provide them with resources and learning materials, I guess, that help them to understand its capabilities. And related to this is what my colleague Sonia Willison, I call their knowledge framework, which we included in a paper. I've got a link to it down the bottom that we sort of designed. And for me, it was to try and clarify and give myself some sort of framework on how to design assessments. This is open access now, recently accepted. I've got the link there to the open access. So in this paper, we have designed this knowledge framework. Of course, we do a whole lot more in our law degrees than substantive legal knowledge, but substantive legal knowledge really is, and we have a requirement, obviously, under legislation to say that our students have some knowledge in the Priestley 11. We are required to do that. Of course, we teach soft skills and all sorts of other things. There's a whole lot more to a law degree, but substantive legal knowledge really intersects with our ability to be able to assess students, really intersects with that. So we've got that as one of our pillars. The other two pillars are generative AI ethics knowledge and generative AI system knowledge. Now, they're sort of two sides of the same coin, if you want, but I think it is really helpful to actually separate them out when we're thinking about assessment design. So ethics knowledge doesn't necessarily require students to engage with AI. It's about making sure that they understand the risks of it. There is a direct correlation. I'm legal ethics convener here at Macquarie as well. And there is a real risk of students going out into practice, not understanding the ethics and getting themselves into all sorts of trouble. We owe a duty to the court and the administration of justice to not submit fake sources to judges and those sorts of things. So it is, I think there's just no way forward where we can't really incorporate this ethics, GenAI ethics knowledge into our curriculums. Then there's system knowledge, and system knowledge is how to use it. So how to prompt, what can we use it for? What are the different, how can we use it effectively? So I now have 3 assessments that I'm going to show how it incorporates these frameworks. They're very high level, and I'm really happy to go in to more detail in question time or at any other time if anybody wants to reach out. The first one is one that was actually submitted just a week ago. I've been working on incorporating some sort of AI into the legal ethics unit over the semesters. Oh, that was one of the things I wanted to mention about the article that we've had recently accepted and published. Is in that is a study of survey of students in engaging with AI, and I know we've been talking about that. So if anybody is interested in reading it, having a look at what students said about their engagement, go and have a look. Anyway, so back to this semester. So this is an assessment where students are put in a position of being a baby lawyer in a law firm, and they have a supervising partner, and they're given a file. So they've sat in, sat in a client interview, they've got client interview notes, they've got some details, and they are required to produce an AI-generated letter. But in actual fact, with first years, I'm not getting them to engage with AI. I actually produce the letter for them, and I show them my prompt. I also, just on as a side, I use AI quite a bit in just assisting me do my job, and I acknowledge right up front with students when I use it. So they're a baby lawyer, and I give it to them like an electronic file. They're required to engage with the letter. The letter is 800 words. They're required to condense it down to 400 words, but they are encouraged to go and review what is contained in this letter comprehensively and amend it and make it better and improve it. Then they are also required to submit a memo to their supervising partner and do a little 5-minute video as well. The memo and the video are really important in terms of thinking about this. If we think about how this, if I look at our knowledge framework, how this addresses our GenAI challenges, first of all, it encourages students to go and check what they have received, and I hope go and have a look at the law and see whether the explanation of the law is correct, or the duties or whatever it is correct. And they also have a look at the tone and the clarity of the letter. The memo and the video, they're required to explain the changes that they made and why. So the really important aspect of this is that they have to engage with the process of the assessment, which makes plugging the whole thing into ChatGPT and just, the whole automation makes it quite difficult. Not impossible, of course. I don't think we can guarantee anything, but it makes it difficult for them to be able to do that. The other thing that I've been doing in all my assessments starting this semester is I'm requiring students to say yes or no to using AI. So not just acknowledge when you do use it, but acknowledge whether you have or whether you haven't. I can't hold them to this, of course, but once again, it's just if they actually have used it and they're saying they haven't, then hopefully it sort of resonates with them a little bit. So the thing I like about this is that the fact that they have to engage with the process. And the video aspect, I've only just started marking these, mind you. The video aspect of this has been terrific. I was a little bit worried about that, but really, really good. And in fact, in many cases, their video was quite a bit better than their memo. This is also a very recent assessment. This is in torts, a second-year assessment. This one is not directly engaging with the AI output, but it's part of the design, hopefully makes just getting AI to do it completely for you just a little bit more difficult. So this was on climate litigation and duty of care. We've got the recent federal court case on that, and there's also been some overseas developments on that. Now, the AI bits of this that I actually think are really good in terms of really starting to go back to basics and really encouraging students to engage in the research process themselves, was that they were required to go and find 2 articles from commercial databases that are behind paywalls that were published in 2024 and incorporate those into their paper. And they were also required, and that, I mean, the LLMs, they're often not part of the LLM's training data, but sometimes they can be. Once again, it's not foolproof. But the other aspect of this was a 500-word reflection. So it was a 2,000-word paper and then a 500-word reflection. And the reflection, again, was on the research process. If they did use AI, then we asked them to talk about the process of using AI and how they found it. But the more important aspect of that was the having to think about the research process. And I have found one paper. We have 650 students in this unit, so we're doing this on scale. I have found one paper that I'm very confident was produced by AI. I have embedded into the rubric that if students include fake citations, they fail. I've put it all the way through all of my criteria, and all of these citations would fail. So I'm able to fail the paper on the face of the paper. But it was really interesting reading the reflection. So it's quite funny. So it's sort of I've indicated their substantive legal knowledge and some of the other aspects of the pillars in the second part of their this slide to show you how we sort of incorporate, like when we're thinking about the design, how we're incorporating that into there. And one more. Have I got time to do my last one? Yep, good. Okay, so this is actually one that I did last year, and it actually AI is. I was thinking about AI when I designed it, but it's not engaging with it at all. But AI does a very poor job of this if you just cut and paste. And I quite like it. I'm going to bring it out again, maybe using a different source. So this is a practice-based task. The students were a junior investigating officer at the OLSC. Once again, this is first year. And they had received an anonymous complaint and they had to prepare a report for their supervising lawyer. The source material for this one was just a YouTube clip from Lincoln Lawyer, the movie with Matthew McConaughey. And the students were required to, it was 5 minutes, watch that. That's the source of the complaint. They then had to produce a report for their partner using a particular model, which was the Queensland Law Society Ethical Deliberation Questionnaire, which I'd amended slightly for the purposes of this task. So what was good about this? Being multi-layered, this is something I think that is really beneficial. And although I've used Lincoln Lawyer here as a clip, and you can do that, you can get things out of movies, you can create your own. It's one of the things we're looking at here is actually, giving students some gift cards to, be actors in some scenarios that we can use. The thing about that was the clip for this one wasn't one of the main issues in the movie. It was actually right at the beginning when we're sort of learning about Matthew McConaughey, Lincoln Lawyer's character. So if you just plugged it into AI, it went with the main issue, and Google also didn't do a very good job of this. Also about using a video as a source, even though we can now upload videos to the likes of ChatGPT, the context of it was as important as what was actually said. And large language models do a very bad job of that. I also embedded the ethical deliberation questionnaire. I embedded that into as a link. So the one student who copied the whole thing, put it into GPT, then copied that and submitted it, the Queensland Ethical Society's deliberation questionnaire is 9 steps. And I wrote that in the assessment, but they didn't have what those 9 steps were. And of course, ChatGPT made up the 9 steps. So yeah, that student also didn't do very well. So having a layered approach like this, you can do it over time, but you can also do it within one assessment, really encourages students to engage in the assessment process. And that's what we need. It's okay that they have these tools to assist them, but we need to have think about our design that encourages students to really engage in that assessment process. And so that's, that's quickly, I think I might have gone over time, my thoughts on this.